Hello, my name is Mar'yana Bonь, and today I will talk about my coursework. The topic of my coursework is peculiarities of translation of adverbial participles and adverbial inflections in scientific and technical texts. The relevance of our research lies in the fact that our work focuses precisely comparative analysis of translation methods of adverbs in a narrow layer of Ukrainian English scientific and technical texts. It should be emphasized that such studies haven't been carried out until now, focusing only on the totality of parts of the language as a whole, which allows us to talk about a certain scientific novelty of our work. The object of the study was 60 English language sentences of the scientific and technical genre with their adverbs and their equivalent sentences that were translated into Ukrainian. The subject of the study is the peculiarities of the translation of adverbs in scientific and technical texts in the direction of English-Ukrainian translation. The goal of the research is to expand knowledge about the adverb in English and Ukrainian languages, to analyze the methods of translation of this special form of the verb, and to identify methods for overcoming difficulties that may potentially arise in the translation process. Let's highlight the following tasks. Briefly outline the circle of theoretical information about the adverb in English-Ukrainian languages, to provide information on basic translation techniques and translation transformation as the main auxiliary means of the translator, to single out adverbs from scientific and technical texts for further analysis of their translation means, to classify the types of translation transformation used during the translation of adverbs, to depict the percentage ratio of the means of translation, and to identify its main trends. The methods of our research are comparative analysis, comparative and original and translated texts as well as a descriptive method. The material for our research was 60 selected English sentences with adverbs and 60 their counterparts in Ukrainian, which were selected from 12 issues of the scientific and technical journal Eastern European Journal of Enterprise Technologies. The theoretical significance of the study is reflected in the deepening of knowledge about the use and role of the adverb in the English and Ukrainian languages, providing the opportunity for further study of the adverbs through the prism of translation studies. Practical relevance is important for practicing translators because the acquired knowledge can be used in further professional activities. Let's look at the diagram for classes. Formation adverbs. Derived from the verb, the adverb takes from the verb the basis of the present tense and the infinitive, and is created with the help of special suffixes, which in addition can indicate the time of the adverb. Present tense adverbs are formed from the first variety of bases with the participation of the suffix «чи», плавають плаваючи, читають читаючи, готують гудучи, несуть несучи, ваблять ваблячи, стоять стоячи, лежать лежачи. Present tense adverbs have only the imperfect form. Past tense adverbs are formed by adding the suffix «ши». The base ends in a vowel and its positional variant «ши». The base ends in a consonant. The base of the infinitive малювати, малювавши, писати, писавши, совіти, совівши, нести, нісши, бігти, бігши. If we talk about the English language, then the form of the adverbs that would fully correspond to the form of the Ukrainian adverb is unfortunately absent in English. However, this doesn't mean that equivalent forms are completely absent. On the contrary, the English present participle known as present participle or participle 1, and also the past participle or participle 2 take over a significant role and functions of the Ukrainian adverbs. In English, sentences with an adverb have the following order: verbal modifier plus subject plus predicate plus object plus adverbial modifier. Functions of adverbs in a sentence. Among the grammatical features characterizing the verb, the adverb has the following. First one, perfect or imperfect form, підписуючи, підписавши, reversibility, посміхатися, посміхаючись, the ability to control words, отримувати документ, отримуючи документ. The adverb has the ability to form an adverbial phrase consisting of the adverbial itself and the words independent on it. Adverbial inflection needs special attention during translation so as not to overload the utterance with the cumbersome structures. Translation and grammatical transformation. In order to avoid an inadequate literal translation, grammatical literalism, they use grammatical transformation should be that means grammatical transformation should be applied. According to Latyshev, the main reasons for the use of translation transformation are differences in the communicative competences of native speakers and native speakers of the target language and the need to minimize them, as well as structural differences in the systems of the source language and the translation language, which can be as follows: and lack of language category in one of the languages, different membership within the same category, comparable linguistic categories don't coincide in terms of meaning, differences between the norms of the original language and the language of translation, discrepancy of users' custom of use that operates in the environment of speakers of the original language and the translated language. Peculiarities of scientific and technical texts. The task of scientific and technical translation is to convey the content of the original accurately as possible. This can be done in 3 stages. The first one is it is necessary to know the general logic of the presentation of the material of the original text, because it is the understanding of the structure of the text, its logical connections, which are a prominent feature of the scientific text, that will prevent the appearance of inconsistencies in the translation. The thing lies the author about the problem, trying to understand its sense. The third one is correctly convey the content of the original, choosing the most accurate equivalence of terms and commonly used words. The following requirements are made for scientific and technical translation. The first requirement is the translation should be accurate but not literal or verbatim, because the latter usually is the most inaccurate. It's not individual words of the original that are translated, but its content. Words acquire a certain meaning only in a context that makes it possible to accurately determine the meaning of the original. Adequate transmission of the content of the original is a defining requirement for scientific and technical translation. Clarity, double content is in scientific and technical translation is unacceptable. Its style must fully correspond to the language style of scientific and technical literature. Scientific and technical translation should be concise, which makes it transparent and understandable. Literacy of a translation is compliance with the norms of the translated language, that is, it lacks forms and inflections that are natural for the original language, but undesirable for the translated language. Let's look at the results of our research. That's all. I thank you for attention.